What's up, everyone? It's Coach Ed here. Coach Ed's Amazing World of Sports. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm excited to bring you today's episodes, a special one dealing with the draft, dealing in and around the draft. I'm sorry. Um, this is going to be my positional countdown, and it's going to be my rankings within each position. Um, in that, I'm going to give you a top 10. But in that top 10, I'm going to give you a little more insight, a little breakdown, strengths and weaknesses of the top five. And again, I'm going to break down each position. You know, certain positions are going to be inclusive into one category over another. You know, everyone has their way of looking at it. But I'll go over all of that in a moment. But before I do, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification. This way, you'll know when I post new content. And everyone, please like and share. It'll continue to help me grow my channel as I continue to work to bring you more content for you guys. Today's episode is going to be about the rankings for the defensive line, specifically the defensive tackles, defensive end. Now, I'm not going to mix this up with the edge. All right, there are some defensive ends that are edge rushers, and the defensive ends that I'm talking about are pretty much guys who can put their hand in the dirt. You can also bump them down inside to play either like a three tech, or even if they have to play a two, or even a bump down to a 2-eye. Anywhere on the interior, excuse me, of the defensive line. This is what the category I have for the defensive tackle, defensive ends. All right, so I hope that clarifies for you guys. So with that being said, I'm going to get right into it. The first player that I'm going to talk about coming in at number 10 is Keion White out of Georgia Tech. He's 6'5" and he's 280 pounds. The next one is coming at number 9 is Keanu Benton from Wisconsin. He comes in at 6'4", 312 pounds. Coming in at number 8, Mazie Smith from Michigan, 6'3", 335 pounds. Coming in at number 7, Zach Harrison, Ohio State, 6'6", 272 pounds. And coming in at number 6 is Kalijah Cansey from Pitt, 6 foot, 280 pounds. So that's the first sector that I have in terms of my defensive tackle, defensive ends there for you. Now, coming in at number 5 is Siaki Ika, nose tackle, defensive lineman from Baylor, 6'4", 357 pounds. He's 22 years old. Now, his strengths are Ika is big and athletic. He is the epitome of what a nose tackle looks like and plays. He gives good effort every play. He has a stout lower body, strong and powerful upper half, and commands 2 players on him almost every play. Ika plays with great strength and violent utilization of his hands. His strength makes it difficult for offensive linemen to overpower him and dominate him. His hands explode into the offensive lineman, usually stunning him and driving him back. He has a great understanding of how to use the bull and pull move. In the run game, he finds his way to the ball carrier, and in the pass game, when he is in there, he pushes the pocket into the quarterback's face. His game experience allows him to understand the situation and be in the right place at the right time. And just to give a little insight to what I mean by that is, even though he played at Baylor, prior to that, he played at LSU, and he played in the LSU's championship season. So he gained a lot of experience. So he has played a lot of top-level competition. Now, in terms of his need for improvement, he needs to get better in securing tackles, as the ball carriers either elude his attempts or they can bounce off his initial hit. He needs to work on leverage, as he tends to come up high on the snap sometimes. He also has to improve his technical game, developing additional moves and counter moves to the offensive lineman. He has to expand his pass rushing so he can be on the field more, because at Baylor, most of the time they kept him out there in the running situation. They would pull him off, and that would continue in the NFL. So he definitely needs to improve in his pass rushing. Ika also tends to disappear during a play or a series, not living up to his stature as being a big, powerful man that he is. So, Siaki Ika is my number 5 player. Coming in at number 4 is Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. He's a defensive lineman. He can play inside, outside, 6'5", 275 pounds, 21 years old. Now, his strengths are he's powerful, physical, and very aggressive. He's battle tested, having competed against several NFL caliber players within the Big Ten. Now, he is very raw, but extremely talented. He's versatile, as I said earlier, because he plays up and down the line, inside, outside, on the defensive line for Iowa. So they rotate him very well. He uses his use of leverage contributes to his ability to explode into the offensive lineman and knock them back. So he's powerful, physical, and a little bit explosive. He has a constant motor as he's never quitting pursuing the football. So even if the ball's on the other side of the field, you'll see him pursuing the ball. He plays with violent hands, using them to knock the offensive lineman back. In 2 years of rotational play, he's accumulated 19 and a half tackles for loss and 13 and a half sacks. Now, his need for improvement is he needs to work on locking out the offensive lineman and get better disengagement. I'm sorry. He needs to have better disengagement. He needs to develop a more rounded pass rush repertoire and not just the bull rush because that's what he primarily uses. So he definitely has to work more in terms of a spin move, swing move, things of that nature, rip move, not just the bull rush. He does need to expand his game in the run game as he was primarily out there as a pass rush specialist. Also, he was a rotational player and never having started at Iowa while he was playing there. So he's definitely, if he wants to be a major contributor in the NFL, he definitely has to be on the field a lot more and not just come in. He has to start, I'm sorry, and not just be a rotational player. So that's number 4 in Lucas Van Ness. Coming in at number 3, Brian Brise, Clemson defensive line, 6'5", 290 pounds, 21 years old. Strengths are he's powerfully strong and he plays with violent hands while engaging with the offensive line. He does a good job fighting through the trash to get to the ball carrier. And what do I mean by that is, a lot of times you have the offensive linemen, other ball carriers, misdirection, but he does a good job in sifting through that to make sure he gets to the ball carrier and he doesn't get caught with what I call the eye candy. He's quick for a big man. He explodes out of his stance. He does have good lateral movement in his pursuit of the ball. He does push the pocket in the pass rush. He can be disruptive in the run game and playing in the offensive backfield. Now, when facing the double teams, he is quick at splitting them and strong enough to sustain them, not being easily driven back or washed away. He does play with good leverage, and he has a stout and strong lower base. Now, his need for improvement is he does need to get better at defending the run. As times he isn't as dominant and as disruptive as his talent highlights as his abilities. He has to improve in his technique and in his counter moves against the offensive linemen. He tends to use more power with his moves, so there has to be an occasion that sometimes a little finesse goes a long way. He can be better in using leverage, and if so, he can develop into an elite interior defensive lineman. So that's my number 3, Brian Brise. Hope I said it right. Coming in at number 2, Myles Murphy, Clemson defensive line, 6'5", 275 pounds, 21 years of age. Now his strengths are he's quick, explosive, strong when engaging blocks. He has good utilization of the rip move, fights the offensive lineman's hands, not allowing him to grab claws so he can play free. His pass rush speed causes offensive linemen to bail and give up leverage and balance too quickly. He gets low at the top end, at the top of the circle. If he's Going up against an offensive tackle, once he gets to the top of the circle and he tends to bend it, he definitely gets low there, not allowing the offensive tackle to get into his body. He has good strength now, allowing the offensive lineman also not to watch him past the quarterback. He attacks the quarterback's top shoulder, not allowing him to bounce outside of him. He's excellent at dissecting the play. He does a good job of attacking the football and creating turnover. He uses his inside arm well while maintaining outside leverage with his body and his hands. He does it well in attacking half the offensive lineman's body to force the offensive lineman into mistakes. He eats up his one-on-one blocks masterfully. He has cat-like quickness off the snap. He squeezes the line well, which helps elevate his quickness. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that literally, he instead of giving the neutral zone a little bit of space, he's literally on top of it. For us Giants fan, kind of think of the old Human Euro, the way he would line up and how close he would get to the line of scrimmage. Pretty much the same type of a stance and the same way he pushes the line. Now, his need for improvement, he tends to play high. This can lead to good to elite offensive linemen, giving them opportunities to gain interior control. So he needs to definitely play better at staying low. He needs to get better at defending the run. He does not play with great run discipline as he puts more emphasis in his pass rushing. His play identification, in a sense, in identifying between the run and the pass, improving his technique and being less reliant on his athleticism, and again, better use of his leverage. So that's my number two player, Myles Murphy. And my number one defensive lineman is Jalen Carter, Georgia, defensive tackle, 6'3", 310 pounds, 21 years of age. Now, his strengths are he's agile, explosive, and powerful. He has a great first step, which allows him to be disruptive and get into the offensive backfield, especially for a man his size. He has a stout lower half that generates the power needed to handle offensive line blocking schemes. So it doesn't matter if they come with the zone scheme, a gap scheme, whether they drive back blocking. He has the lower half of the body to be able to sustain that. He does well transitioning from power to speed and vice versa. He uses his hands well in attacking an offensive lineman's chest so he can get control of the offensive lineman. He plays with great leverage and in fighting with the offensive lineman. So he doesn't always give up, and the offensive linemen, they don't usually win with him. He does an excellent job disengaging from the blocks to pursue the football or even carrying the offensive lineman to the ball carrier. Because there are times when a defensive lineman will be engaged with an offensive lineman and they don't get off of them, or they continue to fight with them and not really get after the ball carrier. He's strong enough to stabilize or stunt the offensive lineman and not allowing him to push him away and still make a play on the ball. He is strong against the double teams. He's either splitting it to make a play on the football, or occupying both linemen, keeping the linebackers clean so they can make a play on the football. He has an innate ability to read and dissect plays. He is very good in change of direction, which helps his ball pursuit. He's versatile as he can play any position on the defensive line. Doesn't matter if he's outside, inside, wide nine to a zero tech. He's adept at playing in the gap or in the two gap set. So, in other words, if he's lined up in the gap and that's his responsibility, fine. But if he's lined head up on an offensive lineman and he has to stand there and fight with him, and he has to be responsible for both gaps on either side of him, he can handle it. So that's what I mean by two gap set. He's physical with his tackles, extremely. I mean, running backs or ball carriers very rarely bounce off of him whenever he's going for a tackle. He does employ different pass rush moves and can counter an offensive lineman's pass blocking. His favorite move is the swim arm over move. Now, his need for improvement is he needs to play with better balance and control in his tackling form, a better understanding of pursuit angles when the football is away from him in the run game, and how to properly squeeze down on the quarterback. Also, one little note, he doesn't have a lot of sack totals, so he definitely needs to improve his sack game. So that's my list right there in terms of my top 10. Number one, Jalen Carter. Number two, Miles Murphy. Number three, Brian Brise. Number four, Lucas Van Ness. Number five, Siaki Ika. Number six, Kalijah Cansey. Number seven, Zach Harrison. Number eight, Maisie Smith. Number nine, Keanu Benton. And number 10, Keon White. What do you guys think? You know, let me know in terms of list. Who do you agree with? Do you think I left someone out? What about the assessment of the top five? If you've done your video reviews, what do you think about my assessment? I'd love to hear for it. I'm going to leave all the information, a list of the players in the description, so you can, pull them up yourself and take a look at them if you want their spelling, all of that information. So I look forward to bringing you another one. Thanks everyone for turning in. I really appreciate your time, your effort, your support, and I'm ready to bring you a whole lot more. And like I always say in sports, make sure you turn it on and turn it up. Peace.